This is the ultimate collection of every German aircraft of World War II. Fighters, bombers, transports, recon planes, gliders, and even helicopters. Over 80 machines in total. Some were legendary, some were terrifying, and some were acts of pure desperation. Fighters and Interceptors. First up, the Fighters and Interceptors. Messerschmitt Bf 109. This legendary fighter was the absolute backbone of the German air war. Evolving constantly, it was flown by aces on every major front from 1939 until 1945. Focke-Wulf Fw 190. Known by Allied pilots as the Butcher Bird, this robust radial engine fighter was highly potent. It offered a lethal performance alternative to the liquid-cooled Messerschmitts. Focke-Wulf Ta 152, Kurt Tank's late-war masterpiece. Designed specifically for high-altitude interception, it was incredibly sleek and fast, though only a handful reached operational units before the end. Messerschmitt Me 410, known as the Hornice or Hornet. This twin-engine machine solved the failures of its predecessor, serving effectively as a heavy fighter and reconnaissance platform. Heinkel He-51, an older biplane fighter that saw combat in the Spanish Civil War. By World War II, it was largely relegated to advanced training. Messerschmitt Me-262, the Schwalbe or Swallow. As the world's first operational turbojet fighter, its blistering speed made it incredibly elusive to Allied piston-engine planes, marking a revolution in aviation. Heinkel He-162, the desperate Volksjäger program. Designed to be built cheaply from wood and non-strategic materials, this jet was often flown by inexperienced Hitler youth pilots. Messerschmitt Me-163, the infamous Comet, the only rocket-powered fighter to ever see service. Its speed was astonishing, but its volatile fuel made it as dangerous to its own pilot as it was to the enemy. Bachem Ba 349, the Natter, a radical, vertical takeoff rocket interceptor. It was intended for a short, almost suicidal burst of defense against bomber formations. Heinkel He-219, the Uhu, or Owl, arguably the most effective night fighter in the Luftwaffe, and the first operational aircraft to feature ejection seats. Dornier Do 335, the extraordinary File, or Arrow. With its unique push-pull engine configuration, this was the fastest piston-engine aircraft Germany ever built. Next, the bombers and attack aircraft. Junkers Ju-87, the notorious Stuka, its screaming, Jericho trumpet siren became the sound of terror during the Blitzkrieg, though it proved vulnerable without air superiority. Junkers Ju-88A, the primary bomber version of the most versatile aircraft in German service. Fast and adaptable, it performed level bombing, dive bombing, and night fighting. Junkers Ju-188, the Racher version, an intermediate development of the 88 featuring a redesigned glass nose and higher performance engines. Junkers Ju-86, an early generation bomber from the 1930s. While obsolete as a bomber, it found a niche role as a specialized high-altitude reconnaissance plane. Dornier Do-17, the famous flying pencil. This medium bomber relied on speed for survival in the early war, easily recognized by its incredibly slender fuselage. Dornier Do-215, a development of the flying pencil intended for export, eventually absorbed into the Luftwaffe for crucial reconnaissance tasks. Dornier Do-217, a much more powerful, heavier bomber design. It saw extensive use in night fighting and anti-shipping roles, known for its heavy payload. Heinkel He-111, the iconic shape of the Blitz. Recognizable by its glazed greenhouse nose, it served as a bomber, transport, and V-1 launch platform throughout the war. Heinkel He-177, the massive Grief, or Griffin. This heavy bomber was plagued by engine fires. Despite the technical nightmares, it was Germany's only long-range heavy bomber to see service. Arado R-234. The Blitz, the world's first operational jet-powered bomber. It was so fast that intercepting it was virtually impossible for Allied fighters. Henschel Here's 123. A rugged biplane dive bomber. Considered obsolete in 1939, its toughness kept it in service as a close support aircraft until 1944. Henschel H-129, the dedicated tank buster. This heavily armored twin-engine attacker carried massive 30 or 75 mm cannons to crack open Soviet armor. Focke-Wulf FW-190F, optimized for the ground attack role. Heavily armored to shrug off flak while delivering substantial bomb loads at low altitude. Focke-Wulf FW-190G, the long-range fighter-bomber variant. Stripped of heavy cowl guns to maximize fuel range for deep penetration missions. Focke-Wulf FW-200, the Condor, called the Scourge of the Atlantic by Winston Churchill. This long-range patrol bomber hunted Allied convoys and guided U-boat wolf packs. Heinkel, a reliable twin-engine seaplane. It operated extensively in coastal areas for mine-laying and torpedo attacks. Transport and utility aircraft. Continuing with transport and utility aircraft. Junkers, Ju-52, the legendary Tante Ju. This iconic tri-motor transport, with its 3 distinct engines, was the tireless workhorse of the Luftwaffe in every theater from Crete to Stalingrad. Junkers Ju-290, powerful long-range 4-engine transport and maritime patrol aircraft, developed from earlier bomber concepts. Junkers Ju-160, a single-engine fast passenger aircraft from the 30s, used early in the war for high-speed liaison duties. Messerschmitt Me-323, the immense Gigant. This 6-engine transport could carry enormous loads, including vehicles, though it was slow and vulnerable to fighters. Arado R-232, the Millipede, a modern transport featuring an innovative multi-wheel landing gear that allowed it to operate from rough, unprepared airstrips. Junkers Ju-90, a large 4-engine airliner converted for military transport, serving as the precursor to the larger maritime patrol aircraft. Siebel Psi-204, a popular light transport and crew trainer, used extensively for liaison duties across occupied Europe. Messerschmitt Bf-108, the Typhoon, an elegant low-wing monoplane used for fast communication, which served as the design basis for the later 109 fighter. Fieseler Phi-156, the famous Storch. Possessing exceptional short takeoff and landing capabilities, it could land almost anywhere, making it invaluable for rescuing high-ranking officers. Siebel FH-104, a modern twin-engine communications aircraft, generally used to transport staff officers between headquarters. Junkers W-34, a rugged, single-engine utility transport used primarily for training and carrying priority cargo. Junkers W-33, an influential transport from the pre-war era, mostly used to train pilots destined for larger multi-engine aircraft. Heinkel He-46, an older Parasol wing reconnaissance biplane. Largely retired by 1940, it saw initial scouting service in Poland. Clem KL-31, a civilian design militarized for basic communications duties during the war. Clem KL-32, a successful 3-seater version of the Clem family, praised for its performance despite its wooden construction. Clem KL-36, a 4-seat touring aircraft originally designed for racing, drafted into service for fast transport roles. Reconnaissance and maritime aircraft moving to reconnaissance and maritime aircraft. Focke-Wulf FW-189, the Flying Eye, Its twin-boom, glass-intensive design gave the crew an exceptional field of view for battlefield observation. Henschel ATS 126, a high-wing monoplane used for tactical observation, eventually replaced by the Focke-Wulf 189. Arado R-234B Recon, the dedicated reconnaissance version of the jet bomber. Its speed allowed it to photograph Allied preparations over Britain with impunity. Heinkel He-70. Famed for its speed as a civilian mail plane, it was adapted for military reconnaissance and liaison. Dornier du 17P, a version of the flying pencil optimized for long-range photo reconnaissance with special cameras and extra fuel. Blohm & Voss BV-1, 38. Unofficially known as the Flying Clog, due to its shape. This sturdy tri-motor flying boat was vital for patrols over the Atlantic. Blohm & Voss BV 222. The Colossal Viking, one of the largest flying boats of the war, serving as a long-range maritime transport. Dornier du 24. A highly effective tri-motor flying boat renowned for its seakeeping ability, primarily used for search and rescue. Dornier du 18. A sturdy flying boat employed for patrols over the North Sea at the start of the conflict. Dornier du 26. A handsome four-engine flying boat with advanced retractable floats used sparingly for long-range transport. Heinkel He-59. A large biplane initially used for reconnaissance, later gaining notoriety when used for intelligence gathering while disguised as a rescue plane. Heinkel He-60. An aging biplane seaplane launched via catapult from warships, eventually replaced by the superior Arado. Arado R-196. The standard catapult seaplane aboard major German warships like the Bismarck. It was extremely effective against submarines and patrol vessels. Heinkel He-114, an obsolete float plane that served briefly before being phased out for better monoplanes. Gliders, now for the gliders. DFS-230. The assault glider famous for the silent raid on the fortress of Eben Emael. Gotha Go 242. A large twin-boom cargo glider heavily used for supply missions on the Eastern Front. Messerschmitt Me 321. The largest glider of the war. Capable of carrying heavy equipment or 200 soldiers, it required multiple aircraft just to tow it into the sky. Trainers. Next, the trainers. Booker BU-131. The Jungmann. This responsive biplane established the superb standards of early Luftwaffe pilot training. Booker BU-133. The Jungmeister. An advanced aerobatic trainer, legendary for its agility, used to refine the skills of fighter pilots. Heinkel He-72. The Cadet. An essential primary trainer for the new German Air Force in the 1930s. Clem KL-35. A widely used trainer with forgiving handling, ideal for student pilots. Arado R-96. A single-engine monoplane used to introduce students to the complex handling of modern fighters. Focke-Wulf FW-44. The Stieglitz. A hugely successful biplane trainer where many future aces learned their trade. Focke-Wulf FW-56. The Stusser. A parasol wing monoplane serving as a transition trainer for fighter tactics. Booker BU-181. The Best Man. A low-wing trainer intended to teach pilots the characteristics of modern monoplanes. Arado R-76. A small parasol wing plane designed as both a trainer and an emergency defensive fighter. Gotha Go 145. A robust biplane trainer that later saw service as a nuisance night attacker on the Eastern Front. Arado R-66. Another venerable trainer pressed into service as a light night bomber to harass Soviet troops. Focke-Wulf FW-58. The WWII. A twin-engine utility aircraft used widely for crew training and as an air ambulance. WWII 202, a light civilian aircraft pressed into service for initial flight screening. Helicopters and autogyros. Finally, helicopters and autogyros. Autogyros FA-223. The WWII, a pioneering twin-rotor transport helicopter that demonstrated impressive lifting capabilities. Flettner FL-282. The Colibri, a groundbreaking reconnaissance helicopter deployed on warships for observation. Autogyros FA-330, a highly unusual rotary wing kite. Towed behind U-boats, it lifted a pilot high enough to spot targets while the submarine remained surfaced.